Greetings to gamers and parents of gamers. My name is Trigvi Raider. I want to take some time to talk about what I think video games do to our minds and what I think they mean to us. Video game development is a massive industry right now, and it is constantly growing. Everybody wants to play the latest video game. So what I want to do is do my best to explain why these games are so important to us and what I think they mean to us. I mean, if you're a parent watching this, when you walk by your kid playing a game, you most likely just kind of glance at it and see it as pointless violence that desensitizes your kid and turns him into a monster. Sometimes there's a little more to it than that. So let's try and take a little closer look at it, and maybe I can help you understand it a little better.
Do your parents sigh disapprovingly whenever they walk past and see you playing a violent video game? Or any video game, for that matter? Well, hopefully this video will help you explain to your parents why you play those games.
Or you can show them this video. I don't care which.
I want to be very clear here. I'm not making these things up to try and brainwash you into siding with me. I am merely providing my opinion based on my experiences and what I have seen firsthand, along with research that I have done. So take that as you will. Now, I'm sure you've heard all the classic arguments like, video games are evil, they are corrupting our children, making them into soulless, emotionless monsters who want nothing but to drink people's blood and shoot people for no reason. Yeah, that's a load of crap. I'm not going to deny that there are obviously people who have been negatively influenced by video games. That can happen. But the point I'm trying to argue here is that it's not going to happen to everyone. Based on research that I've done and everything I've experienced, it's different for every person. It's like there's no way of really knowing how one person is going to react to something based on somebody else. You can guess if maybe they have a similar personality, but beyond that, there's really no way of knowing. Take a game like Call of Duty, for example. One person's reaction to the image of disembodied hands holding a gun and shooting down a computer-generated target will be different from the next. When it comes to whether kids should be allowed to play violent or M-rated games, that's really up to the discretion of the parent. But when your 10-year-old son asks if he can get the new Grand Theft Auto game, you may want to think it over before buying it. Parents, do not buy your kid Grand Theft Auto. It's rated M for a reason. If you think they're emotionally mature enough to handle it, look on the back of the box and make that judgment for yourself. Now, when you think of a gamer, you probably think of images like this. Angry, pissed off people yelling at their TVs, which is understandable. I mean, these reactions do happen a lot. People will get angry at their games. It happens. But the thing is, everybody gets angry. It's a natural human emotion. It's going to happen. If you spend a few hours of your time playing a game and say the game crashes and you forgot to save, that's all that progress you made erased. Just gone from the world, and you can't get it back. You're gonna get angry at that. And then imagine you're fighting this one particular enemy, like a boss, and he keeps defeating you over and over and over, and it takes you at least 20 minutes to figure out the correct way to defeat him, or figure out your own method that somehow works. If it takes you that long, it's going to get frustrating. People will get angry. But anybody would. Here are those same people the other half of the time. Say they defeat that boss that they've been spending 20 minutes trying to fight. They're going to have expressions like this. They're going to be happy that they completed it, and they'll feel better. These games are portals to other worlds where we can become anyone. We can become anything.
There are ways for us to become these extraordinary people that can do things that no one else can, and we get to be them. Like, imagine being this mythical warrior who is given this incredible power and is destined to save an entire kingdom and slay this massive beast that is trying to threaten humanity. Who wouldn't want to be that person?
Or imagine getting to come home and become the Master Chief. He is the ultimate super soldier who is created to fight against a collection of alien races that want to exterminate humanity. This is the premise of Halo, arguably one of the most famous and popular violent games that has ever been created. Ever. But this super soldier is still a person. His name is John. He has his own thoughts and feelings. He's not just a blank slate who takes orders and does whatever he's told. And he does, but he has his own opinions on it. And he even ends up developing a relationship with his partner AI. This is Cortana. She is an artificial intelligence program.
She is placed inside his helmet, and she talks to him throughout battle, giving him tactical data and, basically tips on how to survive till the next conflict. She is with him through all 4 of the main Halo games, which span a time period of about 8 years.
8 years.
And as odd as it may sound, their relationship actually develops into a romance, which will ultimately end in tragedy.
In the Halo universe, AI programs tend to last 7 years, and then they decay into insanity, which is a condition called rampancy. Let me remind you, Cortana's been working with the Chief for 8 years. At the beginning of Halo 4, we learn that she is starting to succumb to rampancy. We are told that this is an inescapable fate for any AI. But even after learning this, John refuses to accept it and spends almost the entire Halo 4 game searching for a way to save her from her fate, even though there's not really anything he can do. And that's the side of video games that you don't really think much about. Yes, you see a bunch of violence, guns, shooting, things like that, but there's also a story. I mean, not every game. There's more than a fair number that are just mindless violence, but there are still good games out there that have an actual story to them as what to go with the gameplay. And a lot of them can actually be pretty heartbreaking, especially when they're done well. And Halo is one of those stories that actually can make you care about these characters because you spend so much time getting to know them. And I mean, I don't know about everyone who's played the Halo games, but I at least felt something when I saw that. And there's plenty of games that do that. Some of them can even bring people to tears, or at least get you pretty close. It's happened to me a few times. I challenge you to find someone who played Kingdom Hearts, saw that ending, and didn't at least feel something. But for some people, these kinds of things aren't enough. And in this modern age, we want cold, hard fact instead of opinions, which so far this is what that mostly has been. There's a uncountable number of studies that you can look up online. People have been testing these things to find out if video games do actually melt our brains for years because, parents have always been concerned since video games ever came to exist.
Now, I did find one study I found several studies that do support the fact that violent video games will tend to make people more violent, but my problem with these is that they are they're really short-term studies. They don't go much further than a few months. And really you need to look a little longer than that to tell just how much somebody's affected by them. Another issue is that typically studies that don't succeed at what they're trying to do are less likely to be published than ones that do. It can also be publishing bias. If the journal you want to publish your study in is against video games, a study that succeeded in finding that there is no connection between violent video games and violent personalities probably isn't going to be published in that magazine. It's really it can be bias suppression, things like that. And I'll also try to put links to the studies that I found in the so that's all I got. Hopefully I've I've at least gotten you to broaden your horizons a little bit. Um, you know, not all of us gamers are gonna turn into bloodthirsty psychopaths and go on a shooting rampage, okay? Those things have happened, and they are terrible tragedies. They're not something to be taken lightly at all, and I don't. But it's not like those things happen every day. And when they do happen, they aren't always going to be connected to video games. That really kind of bugs me. Whenever somebody does something like that, people always try to find a cause instead of focusing on the fact that this terrible thing happened. Like they're always going to like right off the bat you're always going to hear questions like what was their race? Where were they from? What kind of environment did they grow up in? Did they play video games? Did they watch violent movies? And it's really unfair to assume anything like that has anything to do with what they did. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. There's no way to know without knowing the person. But anyway, that's all I've got for you. So, I'll have some links to studies you can look at in the description below. And hope you have a nice day. And here's a picture of a unicorn fighting a dragon. Enjoy.